My name's Josh. I am a draftsman. I design buildings, and I'm 23. No, 24. Birthday was in January. If I was to describe her, it would probably the first thing that I would like to see in someone is someone who has a sense of drive. Just they're passionate about something they want to do. I think that's probably one of the most attractive qualities a woman can have. Just someone who's realistic about the work it takes a relationship to become, and to make it to continue making it a good relationship. A lot of people don't really know the effort it takes to uphold a relationship and make it what it needs to be. So something like that.
And you've been in a long relationship, right?
Yeah, the longest one was 6 years.
You want to talk about
7?
What happened?
Well, minus some of the ending details. I was cheated on, and that ended it pretty quickly. But I was engaged to her. That was the one and only time I've been engaged. But so that first proposal has already been taken by someone. But I guess it taught me how to do it right the next time. So.
How long ago was that?
That was about 3 years ago. 2-3 years ago now. Yeah.
Okay.
So, an ideal first date, honestly, would be something simple like going to a coffee shop, something easy just to get to know each other. If I was going to impress someone, probably a nice restaurant here in Boise, and something a little more formal. But I'm simple. I don't have to be at a 5-star restaurant to get to know someone and make them feel like they're make them feel in a special place. You don't have to go to the most expensive restaurant on the block. So
all right, so first of all, just your name and how old you are and like what you do.
My name's Josh. I am a draftsman. I design buildings, and I'm 23. No, 24. Birthday was in January.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you some questions and just answer them like as honestly as you can, whatever the first thing comes to mind, okay? All right, so if you were to describe your perfect Mrs. Right, how would you describe her?
If I was to describe her, it would probably the first thing that I would like to see in someone is someone who has a sense of drive. Just they're passionate about something they want to do. I think that's probably one of the most attractive qualities a woman can have. Just someone who's realistic about the work it takes a relationship to become, and to make it to continue making it a good relationship. A lot of people don't really know the effort it takes to uphold a relationship and make it what it needs to be. So something like that.
And you've been in a long relationship, right?
Yeah, the longest one was 6 years.
You want to talk about
7?
What happened?
Well, minus some of the ending details. I was cheated on, and that ended it pretty quickly. But I was engaged to her. That was the one and only time I've been engaged. But so that first proposal has already been taken by someone. But I guess it taught me how to do it right the next time. So.
How long ago was that?
That was about 3 years ago. 2-3 years ago now. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a while ago.
So if you were to impress a girl, what would you plan for a first date?
Well, if I was going to impress someone, an ideal first date, honestly, would be something simple like going to a coffee shop, something easy just to get to know each other. If I was going to impress someone, probably a nice restaurant here in Boise, and something a little more formal. But I'm simple. I don't have to be at a 5-star restaurant to get to know someone and make them feel like they're make them feel in a special place. You don't have to go to the most expensive restaurant on the block. So
okay. And then if your friends were to describe you, now not you describe yourself, your friends, how would they describe you? And you can even think of one in particular.
Well, they have all been really excited about this because they constantly ask me why I'm still single, and they're trying to, set me up with their friends, and
You're that guy.
I'm that guy. So, I think they would describe me as dependable. I try to always be there for them if they need something. If they need my help with anything, they know they can call me pretty easily. Yeah, that's probably the best word. Yeah, one of my good friends, Jenna, we've been friends since high school, and she's always called me one of her most loyal friends. She can talk about anything. And
So you have a close girlfriend?
yes.
Has that ever been a problem?
With a couple of my exes, yeah. Yeah, I mean it's I have one best guy friend and one best girlfriend, and yeah, that's kind of how it's always been. But yeah, I think I had one ex that I thought that was an issue, but it's
So it's possible.
I'm not gonna let my friends go because someone I'm with has an issue with it. If I don't think that my Mrs. Wright would have an issue with my friends. I think that would be pretty straightforward.
So it's possible for a guy to be friends with a girl, just friends.
I do, yes.
Why'd you pause?
I do. No, and I used to not think that it was possible, because I normally don't have a lot of female friends that I was that close with. But yeah, me and her have been friends since high school. We've never dated. We've just been really close as far as we can come to each other with things and talk to each other, and it's always been that kind of relationship. So.
Is she someone who would be friends with someone you would be dating? Is she that type of person?
They might need her approval.
Oh yeah?
She's that friend, but she has and a couple other friends. They have high expectations for me. I think they put me on a pedestal, to be honest. But they would like to have a say in it, I'm sure.
They're protective?
Yeah.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. That's good friends to have. Okay, so can you cook?
Yeah.
What's your signature dish?
Pasta. I'm Italian, so I...
What kind of pasta? Because pasta is like the all-encompassing.
I prefer to make like angel hair pasta. I make this really good sour cream lemon capellini, which is pretty good.
All right, so what is the most spontaneous thing you have ever done?
Let's see. Most spontaneous.
Is the one that you're trying to avoid, does it involve nudity? Out with it, Josh.
Yeah. No, yeah, when I used to live in California, the place I lived with my ex, it had a lake, and we had a bonfire barbecue night, and someone convinced me to go streaking into the lake. So that's probably the most spontaneous. Yeah, for editing purposes, if you need one,
Nope.
No, that's it. Okay,
Nope,
so
don't
that's my
need
answer.
it. That's your answer. All right. So what do you like most about the Treasure Valley? Because you are fairly new.
Yeah, fairly. I really like being outdoors and hiking. I haven't really lived any place that allowed that. In California where I used to live, it was just desert, it's flat everywhere. So all the mountains around here, all the trails and hiking that's available is really nice. I enjoy that quite a bit.
All right, you're outdoorsy guy. All right, so do you want to get married?
Absolutely, yeah. That's always been the goal.
What about kids?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have had a ex that had kids, and before that ended, I got really close with him, and that was kind of when I decided, yeah, I'd like to be a father someday. That's, when that happens, that's timeline's decision, but yeah, definitely.
Or that timeline is, what do you see as your future in like your perfect situation?
As like getting married and having children, and
whatever that may be, yeah.
Time frame. If you can get past that 6 months and really find someone, then I could marry someone within a year or two. That's reasonable for me, I'd say. Kids, I do want to have kids. I don't want to be 40 and start having children, but there are still a lot of things that I want to do before I really settle down, and children cause obstacles as far as traveling or your job and things like that. So maybe closer to 30 for children, I think is a reasonable number.
How often do you spend time with your family?
At least every week. We have a standing Sunday dinner every week, so we always do that. But besides that, we I was recently having car trouble, so I was go carpooling with my father, so that was on a daily thing. But at least a couple times a week, I'd say. Yeah.
Do you work with your dad?
No, he's a physical therapist at the over near the Boise Stadium. They have a physical therapist office, so we're on the same path anyway.
You just go to the same place. Thanks, Dad.
Worked out. Thanks, Dad.
Backtrack. Back in the good old days. All right, so if you had time to only listen to one song, say you're carpooling with your dad, and he's like, you pick the song, what song is it?
Probably, and it's just because it's on the bio for the survey I submitted, I mentioned I was preparing for the Spartan race. I'm listening to that kind of motivating music all the time, and my go-to song is "Don't Look Down." It's Martin Garrix and Usher. It's a pretty intense song, but yeah, it's good. It's got a little bit of meaning to it as well. So.
Person or a night person?
I'd say both. I'm not super grumpy in the morning unless I haven't had coffee yet, but I can. But when I'm not training for something, I'll go to bars and stuff like that. So
you talk about your date. It could be like at a coffee shop. When you wake up in the morning, you need your coffee. How do you take your coffee?
Dark and sweet.
You're a man.
No, dark coffee, but I like sugar in it. I don't like it super bitter, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So just a couple more things. What TV show will you not miss every week?
Will I not miss? Recently, it's been Gotham. I'm pretty addicted to that show. And then it's we have a couple seasons, but Supernatural, since that show came out, every episode of that I've been following. So.
All right. And if you were to win the lottery, let's say it's like 20 million. All right. So not crazy, but enough. What do you do with that money?
20 million, still crazy, but I've always thought about that. First thing I do is help out my family. My grandma in particular, she has a lot of debts with her vehicles and things like that, and as she gets older, she can do less and can afford less. So I'd help her out quite a bit. And my parents are stuck in a house that doesn't have as much value as they want to, so I would help them out with that. They're trying to make improvements to give it value, and it's slowly working. But the first thing I do is help out my family. They I don't really need it. I have a job that pays my mortgage, and I don't really need a whole lot of extra spending money. So that majority of that to them. Yeah.
All right. Any final words? Any last words? Something you've been thinking about during this whole thing? If anyone could know anything, what would it be?
I don't know. Someone was asking me why I thought I was Mr. Right, and I when I first did the survey, I didn't think anything was going to come out of it. I heard on you and Michelle talking on the radio, saying I was the first one to send one in, and I think I was just trying to convince myself that I was still putting myself out there, because I've been single it's been a year now, and I'm still trying to get out there. I use dating apps, and those are awful. And so they're asking me why I thought I was Mr. Right, and I really didn't think I had anything that qualified me to be that. As cheesy as this sounds, I think any guy could be Mr. Right. It's just at least for one person it can be. So it just depends on I think I know what it takes to make a relationship good. I've been in enough of them where I know it works, I know it doesn't, and I know it requires effort, and I'm willing to put that in with Mrs. Right.
What's one thing that she could do that you'd be like, oh nope, I'm out? And as honest as you can get, you don't have to sugarcoat it.
I've never been a fan of judging people really harshly. Just seeing someone in. We always make biases and assumptions when we first see someone, but I've met a few women who have just, you know, you see, you get one person when they interact with you, and you get another person when you see them interacting with someone else. So when you see someone, you know, treat someone else not as well as they should, or, you know, treat them unfairly because of, you know, just a bias or a, you know, just an assumption, that's a pretty quick turn off for me. So
you're a pretty open guy. You're
yeah,
not quick to judge.
Absolutely, I think so.